This is how I built my outdoor grill using barbecue tubes. If you're not familiar with barbecue tubes, it's square galvanized steel tubes that you connect with special corners and T-junctions to build the grill area frame and openings for your cabinet doors. This is what our space looked like beforehand. We prepared this space by removing the vegetation and the temporary pavers. We then installed our electrical, gas, water, and drains. We used a hammer drill with a concrete drill bit to drill holes into the existing slab and connect the old and new slabs with rebar to avoid shifting and cracking over time. We used a sheet of metal wire to help support the new slab. We hired a bricklayer to connect the new area to the existing herringbone pattern. We then installed an aluminum awning over the space and continued using our old grill equipment till the tubes and the new grill came in. In my installation, the electrical and the plumbing were against the brick wall. Normally you would want to build a square frame so that the tubes are flush in the back along the bottom and the top. That was unrealistic for me, as you can see here. I'll show you how I worked around this in just a second. It's a good idea to draw out how you want your grill area to look before you order the tubes. This is an 8-foot barbecue pit area. You buy the tubes in the forms of kits, and then it's up to you to figure out how it all actually works together. There are some online videos, but there's not one for every scenario. Here's how I went around the plumbing that was too close to the back wall. I tried to keep as much of the back bottom tube as possible for mounting the downward tubes, but connected the back using a few extra pieces that went around the pipes. Sometimes you can't connect brackets the way you want because something else is in the way. For example, the cabinet doors below my grill, I had to cut the left of the T-plate off so it would fit and I could have something to secure my cabinet doors too. Sometimes you have to make adjustments like that. In the barbecue tube videos, they don't use as many screws as I did, but I think you should put in as many screws as possible, especially in the corners and major junction areas. Don't put any screws on the outside of your box or on the top of your frame. You want to keep this surface smooth and level for your granite and your hardy board. I bought the self-tapping screws that come with the barbecue tubes, but I did run out and had to go buy more from the hardware store. If I had to do it again, I would just buy the bucket of screws from the hardware store again. They were longer and I got more for my money. One place that I had a little bit of an issue with was my undermount sink. Undermount sinks are normally glued to the bottom of the countertop, but I wanted to also support mine with the tubes. I needed to make the support tubes about 1/4 of an inch lower than the flush top of the other tubes to accommodate the thickness of the sink. Because I have a door in front of the sink, there was already a bracket there. So I had to use my grinder to trim the edge of the sink bracket so it would go down a little bit more, allowing for space for the sink. I secured the grill area to the brick wall by placing it on top of a composite decking that won't rot. I wanted to protect the galvanized steels from sitting in the rainwater. I secured the tubes to the wall by pre-drilling holes in the tubes with a metal drill bit. And then I used masonry screws that I purchased from the local hardware store to secure the metal frame to the brick wall. I installed the grill equipment again loosely, just to make sure everything fit. I tried using the cutout dimensions that was included with my grill equipment, and the holes were always larger than I was comfortable with. I would recommend you have all of your equipment on site so you can take your own measurements before making any cuts. Once the box is built and secured in its location, we'll cover it with hardy board so we have something to glue our tile finish to. I used these clamps to hold the hardy board in place, and I got inside the box with a permanent marker and traced out the places for the grill equipment. Then unclamped the hardy board, cut it, and then secured it to the metal tubes using the self-tapping metal screws. As you can see in the dots, I put a lot of screws in. Once again, I installed my grill equipment loosely, made sure that everything fit the way I wanted to. This gave me the opportunity to make any adjustments if needed. We have a second area that we wanted to use as a food prep area. Since the space was covered and there was no high heat from a grill, we decided to build this box out of treated wood. The space has water and electrical for food disposal and refrigerator. The first part of finishing, we installed the granite countertops. When the granite guys installed the top, they used a grinder to cut the grill out and they hit the barbecue tubes. You can see there is a ding where the circular blade hit the galvanized steel. When the steel got wet, it began to rust. I wanted to prevent further rusting damage because this is an outdoor space and water is going to get into it eventually. I taped off the granite and painted it with an anti-rust type of paint on these cut areas. This should help prevent future rust. Our secondary space is up against hardy board siding. I wanted a nice straight edge for the slate to butt up against. I used a piece of hardy board and this plastic contour gauge tool that I purchased from Amazon to trace the shape of the siding onto the board, then cut it. I use liquid nails to install the board on the hardy board backer board. With the cabinet doors, you can install them without screwing them in, and then trace their faces onto the hardy board, so you know where the edge is. You do not want to tile right up to the line, or the cabinet doors will not fit back in. Once you have your doors drawn, you can use some angle cardboard to hold the tile in place above the openings. I used a few drywall screws to secure it onto the hardy board backer. Then you remove it after the tile is dry. The cardboard angle usually comes with furniture. Mine came with the grill. I never secure any of the grill equipment with screws until the very last step. Once you are ready to install the doors, prepare them by removing just the outside edge of the protective film. If this isn't removed before you secure the doors, it will be very hard to remove afterwards, and you don't want little pieces of it sticking out. Once you have finished everything else and cleaned up the workspace, then you can remove the protective film and install the door handle. This is our finished edge next to the siding. Once we installed the hardy board with the liquid nails against the existing hardy board, I added a small bead of caulk in between the new board and the siding, and then taped it off and painted it. The outdoor grill area took a little longer to tile because I had to let sections dry before I could tile the rest. Once everything was done, the plumber connected the water and gas. Then I secured the grill equipment to the barbecue tubes using some of those self-tapping screws. You will have to find some safe places to do this with your own grill equipment, as it will vary. You don't need a ton of screws, but at least 2 for each piece of equipment would be my recommendation. And that's it, we're done. I would highly recommend barbecue tubes. With barbecue tubes, I only had to make straight cuts, and it was relatively easy to keep everything square and level. Give me a thumbs up if you liked the video and how the grill area came out.